Always happy to see you, Mr. Chairman.
I don't hear that very often.
Brooke, just an FYI, Dwayne turned YouTube Live on. Are you able to see that?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
Okay. A little bit delayed there, sorry.
Okay, I've got 5:30. Is that what you have, Dave?
Yep, we're ready to go. Everybody is here except for Lynn so far, and we'll see, but the YouTube channel's on, so you can go ahead.
I see you, Dave. Okay. All right, we're going to call this meeting of the Yankton City Planning Commission to order. It's 5:31. Get the date, April 12th, 2021. And Brooke, could we have a roll call, please?
Syme.
I'm here.
I'm here. Womble.
Womble here.
Womble here. Healy. Okay. Your mic is off, Mike, but I'm reading your lips. Okay. Healy's here, guys. Erickson.
Erickson here.
Erickson here. Specht.
Here.
Specht here. Wenandy.
Andy here.
Wenandy here. Mooney.
Mooney here.
Mooney here. ETJ member Welch.
Moose is here.
Moose is here. City Commission Representative Sarda.
Sarda here.
Sarda here. And Chairman Peer.
Pierce here.
Peer here.
Okay, we have a quorum, so we'll proceed with the meeting. The next item is under routine business is consideration of the March 8, 2021 meeting minutes, which were with your packet. We've reviewed those. Is there a motion regarding those minutes?
Erickson moves to accept the minutes as presented.
Womble second.
Brooke, did you get those? Brooke?
Hold on. Hi, I had a Healy second and a Womble second. I got an Erickson who made the motion. So who seconded it then?
I can
think
second.
Womble did, was what I
Okay,
heard.
okay, Womble, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so those we should have a roll call, I guess.
Sure. Womble,
Aye.
Womble, aye. Healy,
Healy, aye.
Healy, aye. Erickson,
Erickson, aye.
Erickson, aye. Specht,
Aye.
Specht, aye. Wenandy,
Andy, aye.
Wenandy, aye. Mooney,
Mooney, aye.
Mooney, aye. Syme,
I'm aye.
Syme, aye. And Peer,
Here, aye.
Peer, aye.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a really quick comment right now that'll help the meeting go along. The state did us a favor, and I was remiss in not telling you We no longer have to call roll like that, other than on action item issues. So for minutes, we can do an all in favor, aye or nay now. And if there's a mixed vote, then we do a roll call after the all in favor. Same thing with the consent items, we can do all in favor. And if there is a mixed vote, then you go back and do a roll call. So we had that little administrative change, and I forgot to let you guys know about that. My bad.
All right, so procedural, does everybody turn on their mic at the same time then to answer?
Yep, it's kind of a free-for-all, and then you listen for the nays. If there's votes on both sides of it, then we do a roll call after that.
Okay, got you, Dave. All right, we'll move on to routine business under number 3, public appearances or introductions. I'd ask, is there any guests or persons in the commission room at this time, Dave?
The only guest in the commission room is for new business item number 1.
Okay. So moving on then to the consent items, of which we have 3 consent items. So the first one is to establish the next regular meeting as the date for a public hearing to consider a rezoning from R2 Single Family Residential to B2 Highway Business on the north 220 feet of the west 700 feet of the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter, except KYNT addition in section 12, township 93 north, range 56 west of the 5th prime meridian, Yankton, South Dakota. Jim Tramp LLC and Jason Tramp LLC owners, the address 1301 West 21st Street. So I assume we should handle all of these separately, Dave?
Yeah, with the consent agenda, but they can all be aye or nay, yay or nay, not a roll call.
All right. So everybody unmic at this point, and I will call for.
We need a motion first. I'm sorry.
We do need a motion. Thank you. Is there a motion to establish this time and date?
Motion to approve. When Andy?
Healy, second.
Okay. All right, now, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Nay? Hearing no nays, that consent item has passed and the public hearing has been established. So going on to consent item number 2, which is to establish the next regular meeting as the date for a public hearing to consider a rezoning from R2 Single Family Residential to R3 Two Family Residential on future lots 1A, 1B, 6A, 6B, 7A, and 7B in Block 9, and 1A and 1B in Block 10, and from R2 Single Family Residential to R4 Multiple Family Residential on future outlots 4 and 5, all in Summit Heights addition to the city of Yankton in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter, section 12, township 93 north, range 56 west of the 5th prime meridian, Yankton, South Dakota. Jim Tramp LLC and Jason Tramp LLC owners. Address the 1900 blocks of Kellen Gross Drive and Dakota Street. So is there a motion on this consent item?
So moved.
When Andy, second.
Moved by Speck, seconded by Renande. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Hearing none, the ayes carry and the public hearing date is set on that consent item. Number 3, under consent, is to establish May 10, 2021 as the date for a public hearing to consider amendments to the City of Yankton zoning ordinance. Number 711, the proposed amendments are in Chapter 27, Article 2, Section 36, Part G, and Section 37, Part G, and if approved, would change the maximum allowable height structures in the B2 Highway Business District and B3 Central Business District from the current 50 feet to 65 feet. Is there a motion on this consent item?
I move to approve.
Womble second.
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Hearing none. The motion's approved and that public hearing is established or set. So there being no old business, going to move on to new business, which is an action item to request for a variance from the front yard setback requirements in a B2 Highway Business District on Lot 4, Block 1, Walmart addition to the City of Yankton, South Dakota. Address 3007 Broadway Avenue. Jeff Coster is the owner. I think at this point it would be appropriate for me, because I'm feeling a conflict with a conflict with my business, but I'm going to turn this over to Brad to carry on with regard to this action item.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess, Mr. Mingo, given the information in the packet, there's quite a bit to digest here. Would you like to comment on staff's position, please?
Yeah, sure. Your packet included a number of submittals from the applicant, Mr. Coster, included a site plan, included some aerial imageries and some elevations, and then there was a second email sent today with some additional imagery that Mr. Coster provided of the elevations. Variance requests are always one of those quasi-judicial issues that we don't see very often since we went through the rewrite of the zoning ordinance. At the point in the time where we rewrote the zoning ordinance, we had lengthy discussions about all of the dimensions associated with the setbacks and reaffirmed the ones that were mutually agreed upon by both the City Commission and Planning Commission, and changed the ones that we were previously seeing a number of variances on. So this is a variance request from a front yard setback in a B2 Highway Business District next to Extreme Car Wash, which is in front of Walmart. There is no doubt in anybody's mind that Mr. Coster's developed a very good-looking, successful business at the location. We appreciate his investment in the community. But as you know, for variance purposes, the true test of whether or not the commission can legally grant a variance is proof of hardship. The applicant's information includes a significant amount of information about the value of his business, water rates, water payments and things like that. Those are not things that we really have the purview to consider as far as hardship is concerned, because with a variance request, we're talking land use law and not other types of accommodations. So 15 foot was, again, a determined setback agreed upon through a number of actions. We do have areas further south in the community where 15 foot looks different, even though there's still 15 feet, because the right-of-way itself narrows substantially, so the visual corridor is different. We do also have places further south where there may not be 15 feet because there was some structure in place that established a lesser setback. That structure was in place prior to adoption of the current ordinance provisions. Staff is going to recommend that the proposed variance be denied for 2 reasons, and one of them is based in city code, and that again refers back to the hardship law, language which says in city code there has to be a hardship approaching confiscation as distinguished from special privilege, and that is a land use regulatory statement. And then in South Dakota codified law, it says variance would be granted in specific cases in order that unwanted hardships which constitute an unreasonable deprivation of use as distinguished from the mere grant of a privilege has to be met. And from a land use perspective, neither of those 2 criteria for hardship is met. So based on those provisions in code, staff would recommend that the variance not be approved.
All right, thank you, Dave. Anyone on the commission questions for Mr. Mingo?
Yes, Dave, Evie Syme speaking here. Could you explain to me just really quickly, that 15-foot setback is from the edge of the property line? And then how much additional space do we have? Is that all from the property line to the road? Is that all right of way for future road expansion or any sort of special designation? Thank you.
That's a really good question. And yes, setbacks, not just in Yankton, but across the country for zoning purposes are based on property lines. So the front property line is, as you can see, the location of it in that plat, and the request is for Mr. Coster to go 5 feet into that 15-foot front yard setback. So that is what the setback is established from. The next question is right-of-way widths. They vary throughout the community and every community. Even in residential locations, they do vary at times because of utility needs, drainage needs, ditches, pipes. And in some cases, those right-of-way corridors were just established historically wide. Like if you think about Walnut Street north of 5th Street or in that area, it's just an older neighborhood where the right-of-way widths were extremely wide. That's just historically how they've been. Can't really govern from curb line measurements because of all the variables involved. So that's how legally it's the natural or common practice to regulate from property lines.
Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, if there's a audience member that wishes to address the commission, if we could have you step up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Jeff Coster, 102 Crestview Drive, Yankton, South Dakota. How's everybody this evening? Everybody hear me?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm basically here to answer any questions you guys have. I tried to lay it out the best I could in my letter. When I built the car wash, I actually had moved the building over for future expansion. And so we thought we had moved it far enough, and I was thinking in my mind the last few weeks of how that could be short. And I didn't get a chance to ask Dave this, but I think that when we built the car wash, the setback may have been 10 feet at that time. Do you know when that setback got changed?
Yeah, it's been 15 feet for 40 years probably.
Okay,
So,
well, it
yeah,
wasn't 40
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, no,
So we thought we were only 3 feet short until the surveyor measured, and we ended up to be 5 feet short. So that's where we're sitting today. And I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Coster. Any questions from the commission?
I guess my question would be, to avoid this situation altogether, could you put it on the other side, the new addition? And then maybe open up that curved area so people can pull into the vacuums from that way?
Yeah, because of the way we're not closing the other 2 wash bays, so we have to keep the same flow going in. And also, Walmart has jurisdiction on the other 2 sides, and they will not allow anything else to be changed there. Trust me, I've been over this in my mind like 1,000 times, right? Trying to get it to work, but.
Any other questions from the commission for Mr. Coster? All right, well, thank you, Jeff, for being here and being available to answer the questions.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
if I may, Mr. Chairman, one more comment that I would have. This is Dave. You know, these dimensional requirements are something I agree and believe that we need to review on a regular basis. We've heard a number of discussions about this specific dimension. Actually, a majority of them are saying it's not enough to this point. We landed on keeping, this is one of those we kept when we rewrote the ordinance in '95, so we kept it at 15. But we do have a comprehensive plan process coming up in a 2-year process here beginning next year. It was going to begin this year, but COVID kind of got in the way of that. So I think that would be just an ongoing discussion on not just this dimension in the setbacks, but all of them, just to see if we're still creating the vision for the community that we want to and using the same or logical rationale in establishing setbacks. But so just an FYI for those of you that are still involved in a couple of years, this will be part of that discussion when we redo the comp plan too.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Any additional discussion from the commission at this time? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion.
I moves to deny the variance request.
A motion to deny the request. Is there a second?
Erickson seconds.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Any final discussion?
I would like to say, just though my motion is to deny this variance request, that it's a business that I use and enjoy very much, and the drawings all look lovely, but I feel like it does not exhibit any hardship at this point.
I kind of feel the same way. I've been torn about this for the last couple of days that I've been looking at this, because I actually don't see a problem with 5 feet into that area, but just the wording of, just the way they have the wording, I think, yeah, it doesn't create a hardship, and I'm gonna have to deny as well.
Any other comments? Very good. Brooke, we get a roll call on this item, please.
Yes, Healy,
Aye.
Healy, aye. Erickson,
You were on mute, Warren.
Sorry. Erickson, aye.
Erickson, aye. Speck,
Aye.
Speck, aye. Mooney,
Mooney abstain?
Mooney abstained. Syme,
Syme, aye.
Syme, aye. Wamble, sorry.
That's okay. Womble, aye.
Wamble, aye. Pier,
Here abstain.
Pier abstained. And Winandy,
When Andy, aye.
aye. Thank you.
Okay, so this item will go to the city. Help me out, Dave. Is that,
So it's a two-step process for the Board of Adjustment. On April 26th, they'll set May 10th as the date for their Board of Adjustment hearing, and then, or excuse me, yeah, May 10th. And then on May 10th, and there's a typo in the packet, there'll be the Board of Adjustment hearing, and all adjoining property owners and Mr. Coster will get notice. Everything that Mr. Coster submitted here will also go to the Board of Adjustment for that hearing, and that'll be the final decision at that point. This is a recommendation.
thank you, Dave. Very good. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
Okay, thank you for handling that, Brad. So we'll move on now to, on the agenda to other business, which is the March 2021 building permit report. And Dave, I'll let you comment or add any additional that you need or want to with regard to the building report.
Value-wise, we're substantially behind last year, but we had a big apartment project come in early in the year last year, so it's still too early to come to any conclusions related to that. I know that in the office, we're talking a lot about, building materials pricing and things like that. We do have as many people as there ever have been in my career with the city discussing developments and plans and construction projects. But a lot of people seem a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger and actually start something up, hoping that maybe building prices will level out a little bit here or come down a little bit here in the near future. But that's a story yet to be told. Good news is it seems like single-family homes, are still moving ahead with a lot of remodeling and accessory structure sorts of things. So the materials prices hasn't totally killed that end of the spectrum off. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you might have.
Not hearing from anyone. I have a couple of things to ask staff about. I guess the first one is, we haven't heard for quite a while, what is the status, or what can you tell us rather, about the proposed hotel behind the frying pan? Okay.
Yeah, I can tell you what the new involved developer has authorized me to tell you, which it is Slowey, and I can't remember the corporate name now, but Tim Rutgers is heading up that project, and I can't remember the name of the company, I'm sorry for that. But yeah, they are still within a whisker's edge close to getting the property under control taken from Mike Works and Yankton Lodging LLC, which was the developer prior or formerly involved in trying to get the hotel built there. He's trying to get out of the picture. The local developer is very interested in still doing the project. It's kind of been a perfect storm working against him, both with some issues on the banking side, not for them, but for the person trying to step away. You know, and with COVID and what that did to the lodging business in general on a nationwide scale last year really kind of hurt them. That's starting to bounce back now. You know, so and now building materials costs, doing what they're doing isn't helping the situation either. But there is information to me as they have every intention to continue to move forward as soon as they can. They haven't given up on the site or the project. They like both. So they're going to move ahead and do it as soon as they feasibly can.
Does that prompt any comments or other questions from anyone on the commission?
I will say that the current owner who's trying to get out is motivated because he's making a payment in lieu of taxes because there's no building there generating increment. He's making payment in lieu of taxes annually to the mall for part of that contract. The city is not paying any tax increment district proceeds out because there haven't been any. Essentially, a little bit of an increment with some improved property values, but most of that is eaten up by administrative costs that are built into the contract for the city to keep. So he's motivated, so things should happen.
This is a question for Dave. Dave, when you're talking about timing, has that surfaced as far as, we looking at 21, or do you have any idea and that you can even so state?
Are you talking about the hotel site still? And they're
Yes.
yeah. So they're telling me yes, they plan to commence the project yet this year, but there's some things that are beyond anybody's control that are involved in that. So yes, they're talking this summer's construction. But there's no guarantee of that because there's a lot of things that are beyond even his control.
Okay, thank you.
Dave, I have a question about that too. As part of that construction, does that include fixing some of that parking lot that is going to be available for parking for that structure once it's built?
So the part of the parking that's in the outlot where the hotel is would all be brand new. There's no, you know, yeah, so there's no way to incent them all to do anything that they're not willing to do at this point. And, you know, that ownership group just has their own way about them, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, anybody else on that topic? And then Dave, the other question I had, and I think I talked to you about this a month ago, was there any legislation coming out of the last session that, you know, that has had an impact on planning and zoning and how we proceed or how that's handled?
Not really a whole lot that's going to impact us. There was that one piece of legislation that dealt with conditional uses or special uses. We were already pretty much functioning in that manner. It was a year ago, it was approved at the county level, or as it would apply to counties, and then this year the sister bill for cities went through. Not really going to adjust, or doesn't really have an impact on how we do business because we were already conducting ourselves in that manner to begin with, so.
Okay, that's all I have. Does anybody on the commission have any further comments or questions for staff? Hearing none. Is
Motion
there
to
a motion?
adjourn.
Does Brad want to make a motion to adjourn or something?
Well, Nadia would very much like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Is- And who wants to second that motion?
Womble seconds.
Erickson second.
Okay. We have 2 seconds, so we're good to go. All right, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned and we will convene again next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.